an exciting series with Michael Money Johnson playing. He's a last year he was a rookie. Money Mike Hare, excuse me. We cover him on MLB Bro a lot, so he's an exciting rookie who's an outfielder who's capable of some amazing catches and also some great hits. So he's one of the players on the Atlanta Braves that's leading the charge. So that's one of the things that we need to have happen. The Cleveland Guardians are playing the Kansas City Royals. So that's an opportunity for them to gain some ground in the American League Central Division. So that's an opportunity for them to increase their wins and possibly take control of the division. If we can get some help from Atlanta, that's something that they can possibly do. And they could possibly lead the American League Central. Right now, with the American League Central, the Kansas City Royals are a bottom dweller. They're the worst team in the league. They're one of the worst teams in baseball. And this is a time they're at 22 and 56, or you have the Twins at 40 and 40. So they're at even 500. So the Cleveland Guardians are 1.5, a game and a half behind, excuse me, at 37 and 40. And then you have the Tigers at 34 and 43. You have the White Sox at 34 and 46. And you have the Royals at 22 and 56. So this is a team that you're supposed to beat up and show them that, show that you're serious about winning the division. And things of that nature. So this is a team where you should be able to beat them up because they're a terrible team. They've been a terrible team for a while. You've had their number. You have the overall winning percentage the past few years since they've won the World Series. And this is a team that they should be able to beat. They should be able to sweep this team, but you never know. They were able to sweep Oakland, but Oakland actually, one of the things that me and Willie talked about yesterday, Willie Upteen Jr., was that Oakland was very competitive in those series, and they actually came out the gate leading, and the Guardians had to come back in every game except for one. So even though the Cleveland Guardians should beat this team, there's no possibility that they actually will. So one of the things is that they're getting that leadership and they're getting that excellent play from Jose Ramirez. They're getting excellent play from Josh Naylor. 1 through 9 right now, the Cleveland Guardians don't want to admit when they fail or mess up. And one of the things is Mike Chernoff spoke the other day, and he didn't really touch upon that they missed on Mike Zunino. Right now, Josh Bell is looking like they kind of missed on him because they were looking for him to hit for power and, have more RBIs. And his bat is coming alive a little bit, but he's not consistently getting those hits like he should and like they paid him to do. So that's one of the issues that they have right now. Also, they're not getting Guardians lineup. They're not getting a lot of production from the later part of the lineup. So that's also an issue as well. They have some young arms coming in. Gavin Williams is going to be pitching tonight against Brady Singer, who's a right-handed pitcher. That he's 4-7 with a 6.34 ERA and 67 strikeouts. Now, Gavin Williams is a right-handed pitcher. He kind of got beat up a little bit the other day when he pitched against Oakland, and right now he has a 6.35 ERA with 4 strikeouts. And obviously, you're looking for that number to come down, and I believe it will come down. It was his first start. He one of the things that we say is welcome to the big leagues because he got hit and he got hit pretty badly. But on the positive side, he was able to have 4 strikeouts. He's young. He was really good in AAA with a lot of strikeouts. So he should be good as a pro with a lot of strikeouts as well. It's just about bringing him along and not having to rely on his arm too much because there's been some injury issues. So you don't want to push him. One of the biggest arms that you're missing out of that lineup is Tristan McKenzie. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, how Tristan McKenzie could possibly need Tommy John surgery, which would be devastating for this team because they need his arm. He's a big piece of the starting rotation and what they're trying to do. So one thing is you don't need Tristan McKenzie being hurt. You need his arm. And it was announced that obviously, and we talked about this before, that he's going to be gone for 6 to 7 weeks while he tries to deal with that sore elbow. You have one of the best um, doctor health um, doctor and health staffs in the world. These teams have the best medical care that you can possibly provide. And, it was diagnosed as, a sprain of the UCL ligament, which is very important when it comes to pitching because obviously it has to do with your velocity, it has to do with your grip, being able to hold onto the ball, being able to actually put your hands on the ball as well, because they can involve your hands and just everything that a pitcher needs in their arsenal. That's one of the things that is super duper important. So there's no guarantee that he won't need one because he's actually going to get a second opinion. So and it's one of the things is you look at, could this team have a better record if Tristan had pitched, because he missed the first 2 months of the season and he was placed on the 15-day injured list. And then 2 weeks a week ago with the elbow sprain. So he won't throw for several weeks and he'll need to ramp back up to game level once the injury is fully healed. And that's one of the things is that they're hoping that it heals within the next few weeks. And That's the thing. Can he get back to pitching this season? Because if he's gone for the rest of the season, that's going to be some problems for your pitching rotation. And you're going to have to juggle and find out which one of these young kids is going to be able to do something for you. So one of the things is, that injury can come with wear and tear, the stress of repeated throwing on the elbow. It causes the microscopic tissue tears and inflammation. So that's one of the things that Tristan is dealing with. It causes a decrease in the ability to throw, a feeling a pop or tear when the injury occurs. So I don't know. I don't recall him saying that he felt that. But obviously, if you can't grip objects firmly in your hand, straighten your elbow, numbness or tingling in the ring of little fingers of the hand, pain and tenderness in the inner side of the elbow, which gets worse when you throw, swelling and bruising on the inner elbow and upper forearm, that's going to be a huge issue for you as a pitcher because that's pretty much everything that you need in your arsenal, and your different grips on the ball is going to be able to allow you to throw different pitches, whether or not you'll be able to throw a slider, throw a curveball, throw a fastball, things of that nature. So this injury is devastating because it's everything that Tristan would need to be able to perform his job. So he's probably not going to be able to do that. And, you've needed him this season, but he's only been able to make 2 starts for you, once against the Minnesota Twins, and he pitched only 5 innings. He did strike out 10, though. So that was a great comeback. And then, he only gave up a single hit in that start. But then, you had Houston coming to town and he pitched 5 innings, which was his second start. And the outcome was much different because the Astros, they scored 5 runs against Tristan, which included a home run. And, obviously him being missing again in action is not ideal for this team. And, allowing this injury to heal is going to be the best case scenario. So, we'll hear what happens when that second opinion has came out. It has not came out just yet. So everybody's going to be waiting with bated breath to see what's possibly going to happen with him, and will he be okay to pitch some more? So that's one of the things that we're looking forward to, is seeing what's going to happen with him. And one of the things I had mentioned was the Guardian starting lineup. So you're getting that production from Quan in the leadoff, but getting him home is one of the issues that this team has right now. So, you have a Rosario hitting second, and, he's not hitting that great, but the bats are warming up a little bit. Then you have Jose, who is constantly trying to drive somebody home. Usually that's Stephen Kwan because Kwan does a pretty good job of getting on base. And then you have Jose hitting at third. And, Jose is just an RBI and home run machine. So, when Kwan isn't on base, usually Jose is doing something for himself, getting some type of hit, always sprinting out of the gate, no matter how bad that hit might be, to try to get to first base. So he's doing everything and anything to show this team exactly what they need to do. He's showing the youngsters that, hey, no matter what type of hit is this, I'm sprinting to first base because I could possibly make a play with this. So that's one of the things as well. That he's showing this team that he can do. Hey, Leanne, I see you out there. Hoping all is well. Thank you for those fire signals. Talking a little baseball right now. But, he's showing that that's something that he can do is get his teammates home. And that's going to be super important because later down the line, you're really going to need Jose to put that bat on ball. And if you're trying to win this division, he's your most valuable player on the team. And he is going to be the one that he's the straw that stirs the drink, as we said yesterday. Then you also have Josh Naylor, who right now is just kind of hitting out of control. He previously had a 14-game hitting streak, and he's doing really great this year. And really excited for him because he's a player who's been through so much, especially with that leg injury a few years ago where it could have possibly ended his career. So to see him bounce back and to see him, even be able to walk, and there hasn't been any news of that ankle bothering him at all this year. It bothered him a little bit last year, but he pushed through that pain and he was able to be productive, in which he's been playing really well. So that's one of the things that really excited about for him. And that's definitely a great thing. So looks like Brandy is backstage. So we're going to work on getting her in here. But right now we're going to take a break. You're listening to Her in a Huddle, and this is WOVU 95.9 FM. And we will be right back. All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. And we want to welcome you always here with Brandy, but let's give you some call letters right quick. So always make sure you keep it locked here on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can always listen to us online at WOVU.org. You can always download that WOVU app to listen to us on the go at any time. And then you can always contact the station with any questions, comments, and concerns at 216-271-0959. Hi, Brandy. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing okay. We're just talking a little Guardians before you got here, just talking about this lineup and some of the things that I was going 1 through 8. I stopped on I just finished up Josh Naylor and talking about this lineup and some of the things that they need to do. Right today, they were off yesterday after losing a close one against the Milwaukee Brewers in extra innings, and they were off yesterday, and they take on the Kansas City Royals, and this is a series that they absolutely should win. They kind of have to win. They should be able to sweep them. Right now, they're 1.5 games out of first place after Atlanta beat the Twins. So obviously, we're going to need a little help if we plan on taking that division. And I feel like we're right there. We win and then we lose. So, what are your thoughts about right now what's going on with this team as they go into a series against the Kansas City Royals?
Yeah, unfortunately, I heard, when you were talking about Tristan McKenzie. So, that's unfortunate to have him, what he wasn't able to start the season for the first 2 months. And then now to know, almost have him out for 2 months again is unfortunate with him being, one of the best pitchers on this team right now. But like you said, I think they should definitely win this series against Kansas City. And I think they have to if they want to be in a good spot going to All-Star break, especially, after this, right before the break, we'll play Kansas City again, but they're going to have the Cubs, and that's going to be a tough series. And then they're going to be playing the Braves as well.
Yeah, and the Braves are coming in here, as one of the best teams, coming off a World Series right now. The Braves are playing really well, and that's one of the things that that might be a really tough series. But the good thing is they have them at home, so beating the Braves would really be a good measuring stick for this team. So I think that they can do it. Obviously they play better at home, so Atlanta is a pretty good team, and it's a possibility that they might be able to take 2 out of 3 if they play some of their best baseball. So we shall see with that. So that's one of the things that's coming up. Trying to find their record exactly. Let me go to NL East and
I
see
know
where the
last
Braves are.
year, I think we were 45 and 44 at the All Star break last year. So we're
Hmm.
almost about the same spot this year again, which is a good sign.
Exactly. So right now the Braves are 51 and 27 with a 654 winning percentage. So that is going to be a little bit tough for the Guardians when Atlanta comes in, but it's still every series is winnable. So yeah, that's going to be really tough. So we shall see when they come into town. The Guardians have to play well and have to figure out what they're going to do with their pitching staff. So, that's another thing is, they're having to
Mhm.
bring up some of these young arms probably before they're a little bit ready yet because you still, have Cal Quantrell who's still, on the IL and looking to come back very soon. So that's a positive thing, positive sign for this team as well, even though Cal hasn't pitched as great as he did last year. To be able to have a veteran pitcher get here and get in that starting rotation is going to help a lot as well because you have Gavin Williams starting tonight. And I don't know if you heard me say his ER was 6.35 because he got smacked around against the Oakland A's. But,
Right.
this is a going against the Royals, hopefully he'll have a little bit more success.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully he should. I think, he should. This shouldn't be as tough a series. So I think, he'll do better. And like you said, I think a lot of these guys are, moving up to the Guardians from being in AAA or AA earlier than expected to because of these injuries. And that is tough. But, hopefully they'll get to improve too as, they do play more major league games.
Yeah, absolutely. So, going back to the Cleveland starting lineup, one of the spots, Josh Bell, as I was mentioning earlier, he hasn't hit as we really had needed to. So, one of the things that this organization doesn't like to admit is that they made a mistake. Obviously they made a mistake with Mike Zunino. And do you think that they made a mistake with Josh Bell at all?
Um, I would say kinda. I think, that's kind of hard, but I think I would say kinda just because I think a lot of the expectations that were set for him coming into this year and, coming in the lineup, I think a lot of people expected him to help out in that lineup because that was, parts where they struggled at. And I think he just hasn't performed as well as they thought he was going to.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to connect on a lot of pitches. Right now, he's batting in the low 200s, I believe. So, that's one of the things that they were looking for, is somebody to hit for power for this team, and he really isn't doing that. So, that's a
Mhm.
hindrance. So, I think the jury is still out on that. But, only time will tell, how well he can do for this team. So, right now, he's batting at 230. He has 32 RBI, 7 home runs. So I think that they were looking for more out of him than that, and they haven't gotten it just yet. So he's had 243 at bats, 56 hits, 7 home runs, and a batting average of 230. So his on base percentage is 325. His slugging percentage is 379, and his OPS is 704. So definitely looking to get some more production out of him. And obviously he is sharing first base with Josh Naylor, and sometimes he comes in as a DH. So you want to get more production. Andre Jimenez has been up and down. The other day he was a hero. I think it was a game against Oakland. He was a hero and was able to get them come from behind win. And then the other days, he's not that great. And then obviously, him playing second base. I don't really blame him for Mike Zunino not really being able to throw anybody out, but it just didn't help, and it was just kind of a disaster. What are your thoughts about Andres Jimenez?
Yeah, I think he's been playing, pretty well this year compared to, where everybody else is at, especially at batting. He's right now, and I think top three probably batting percentage on the team. So he's been doing pretty well. But like you said, I think that is with a lot of players on this team, just finding where they can be consistent at. And I think they struggled with that last year too. Like one game this person would be on, and next game a different person would be. We couldn't really find a game where everybody was able to hit and have everyone was having a good game.
Yeah. Moving on to Will Brennan. Will Brennan is one of those kids, who like last year, he got some time to be up here. And right now he's your right field. He plays in right field for this Guardians team. He was brought up because Oscar Gonzalez was struggling to perform. And we touched on Oscar a little bit yesterday. He's doing a little bit better in AAA. He came off of a game where he went 5 for 5. So he's doing a little better at hitting. But Will Brennan, is playing pretty good out in right field. He got a little injured the other day because of a catch, an amazing catch he made in a game against the Brewers. So he had been dealing with a little bit of pain, because he gave his full body, out. So he had been dealing with some arm pain. But he's a fun player, and he's becoming a better hitter than when he started. And I really like Will Brennan. I believe that he's the future of the franchise, and hopefully him and Oscar Gonzalez can be there and hold that right field down. What are your thoughts about Will Brennan?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, he's definitely, you could see the improvement in him since he came up to the team. He's definitely, got better at batting. And on Oscar, I'm hoping he continues to improve. And then, once it's later in the season, they're able to bring him back up. And then it'll be both of them out there in right field. And Oscar, he gave the team a lot of, I think, motivation last season, when he was coming in and batting. So I'm hoping he could bring that back once he's able to come back up.
Yeah. And then you got Miles Straw. Miles is Miles. Miles will put the ball into play, but he hasn't, Miles tried it. So one of the things that, I had mentioned and, what we were going to talk about was that play against Milwaukee Brewers where it was a little bit of a controversial call. Were you able to see that at all, Brandy?
I did not see that.
Well, they called for interference against not Miles Straw, but oh gosh, I forgot what his name is. He had came up Gabriel Arias. So Miles Straw has stolen second base. And then that was when Gabriel Arias was at bat. And then they originally gave Miles that steal. And then they said they did a little conference. I don't remember the manager from Milwaukee coming out, but they did a little conference and they made Miles go back to first base saying that, Gabriel Arias, when he swung his bat, he kind of swung it through and it hit the leg of the catcher um, Wilson Contreras that it was catcher interference. And that's one of the things, obviously, if they had been able to have that call stand, they probably possibly could have won that game because I believe that, they could have scored in that inning off of that steal. And that kind of didn't happen. So unfortunately, that one didn't work. And Miles was sent back to first. And subsequently, he got out because they left him stranded. Oh, then he tried to re-steal it again, and unfortunately was thrown out. So that just didn't work. But if they initially let that stand in the very beginning, would he have been able to still? Would that have impacted the game? And that's one of the things that might have because you went into extra innings, and unfortunately the bullpen kind of let this team down. So and then Bo Naylor, what are your thoughts about Bo? He's so fresh, he's so young. Finally, has his first two hits in the major league after going to bat quite often, and he was struggling to connect and hit the ball. But what are your thoughts so far about him as a catcher and about him as a batter?
Yeah, I think, like you said, he's young. So obviously, I think, once for most players, when they get called up, a lot of them do have a rocky start. But I'm sure, he'll find his footing. He's done, pretty good with where he's been at so far. And a lot of people are excited to have him up here, fan wise, since it's Josh Naylor's brother.
Yeah, and he's your future catcher. Because also he's been sharing some catching duties with Cam
Mhm.
Gallagher, excuse me, but they got rid of Mike Zanino. So right now, he has had 20 at bats and he has 3 hits. Excuse me, so he has 3 hits. No home runs yet, but his batting average is 150, and we look for that to rise because it was triple zeros across the board. And right now he has a OBP, so on base percentage of 227, slugging percentage of 150, and OPS of 377. So he's had some walks as well too, which has contributed to his play. But you just look for those numbers to come up. Obviously this isn't AAA, so obviously he's going to hit the ball a little bit more as he gets used to major league pitching because obviously this is not AAA and it's like welcome to the big league. So he's going to face a lot of better pitchers, and you just look for that continuous improvement. You bring him along slowly, but he's not going anywhere because he's the catcher of the future for this team. So we're going to go ahead and take another break. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I'm here with Brandy Fairfax. And welcome to the show if you just started listening. Also, what's up, Chris Gonzalez? See you over there in the chat. So what's up with you? Thank you for the fire signs. And Brandy, one of the things that wanted to move on to was the NBA. So right now, one of the things is Dame Lillard possibly could go to Miami. And one of the things is, Dame Lillard can hit it from anywhere on the floor. And, let's just say that he's not going to go anywhere with Portland. Portland is not really, they didn't even make the playoffs this year. So Dame is getting older. So, he's probably going to want to start chasing rings now because, he hasn't been able to do anything for his career. But, this is something that could possibly affect the Cleveland Cavaliers. If he does come to the Eastern Conference, he wants to go to Miami. Miami made it to the finals, losing 4-1 to Denver. But, what are your thoughts about him possibly going to Miami and how that could affect the Cleveland Cavaliers as they continue to be in the Eastern Conference? And I kind of look at, the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of solidly holding on to that fourth spot. Hopefully, you always know that Boston and Milwaukee are going to contend, and that Philly, while they have Joel Embiid, even though they're losing James Harden, they're going to be able to contend too. So it's a little bit weird to see what Philly does. Who really knows? But I look at that the Cavs team is holding on to that fourth spot solidly, but anything could change. And obviously, Miami's going to be ranked higher going into the season. But what does this mean for the Cleveland Cavaliers and what they'll be able to do next year if Dame Lillard does go to Miami?
Yeah, I think the past, few seasons, people have been kind of, waiting to see what Dame would do. He's really said how he didn't want to leave Portland, but, really every year, either they don't make playoffs or when they do, they're out the first round. So I think it probably is time for him to move on from Portland just because, he is one of the superstars in the league. And I think he can win a ring if he's somewhere else or with, different teaming. So, it'll definitely, I think, make it harder for the Cavs if he goes to Miami. We saw what Miami did in playoffs, and they didn't have Tyler Hero. They also lost Victor Oladipo. And then, adding Damian to that, which is averaging another at least 25 points per game, is going to make it really hard. And, Miami, they were eighth seed in the East, and I think they're probably going to have, a better regular season this year, and we won't see them, that far down in the East.
Yeah. So also, Brooklyn could be a potential spot for him as well. What do you think about him possibly landing in Brooklyn?
I think that'd be interesting. They do have the young team right now in Claxton and Bridges. They call him Brooklyn Bridges. They gave him that nickname. I think a lot of people thought, once they got rid of Katie and Kyrie, that they weren't going to do as well in Brooklyn. But, them three being a young team, they played pretty well. But I think, adding a vet like Damian Lillard would also, help them out a lot.
Yeah, and Dame loves Portland. He wants to contend with Portland, but it's just not possible. So there was saying that Damian Lillard went live on Instagram from a Paris nightclub where Will Smith's song Miami was playing in the background. So that has also helped, rumors to swell as well. And he's good friends with Bam Adebayo and Mikal Bridges, who played for the Miami Heat. excuse me, yeah, he played for the Miami Heat, and obviously, players want to team up with other players and their friends now. So that wasn't something that took place back in the day. In the old NBA, this is a new NBA, so everybody teams up with their friends and stuff like that. But it could be definitely very interesting to see what happens within the next couple days because everybody's eyes right now is on Dame Lillard and what he's going to do. And, he said that he wants the opportunity to win in Portland, but we got an opportunity asset wise to build a team that can compete. But he said if we can't do that, then there's a separate conversation that we would have to have, and we'll just let things take its course and see where it lands. But it appears the Blazers appear to have chosen to invest in their youth by drafting the point guard Scoot Henderson. So they have three small guards with him, Lillard, and Anthony Simmons. So one of the things that, as you saw with the Phoenix Suns, they prepare for Chris Paul um, future without Chris Paul. So is Portland planning for a future without Damian Lillard is the question. And then, obviously that's going to force Damian Lillard to go somewhere else. So I think that they are, potentially know that he possibly could go somewhere else. So I hate to see that relationship break up because obviously you want to see him be able to do something with Portland, but I just don't think it's going to be possible. Do you?
No, I don't think so. I think, there are times in the past few seasons, if they were going to be able to make it work, I think it would have already happened. I think they've just been, they have surrounded him with good pieces. I think Anthony Simmons has been, a great piece alongside him. But like you said, I just don't think it's going to work, unfortunately, in Portland.
And you got teams getting better in the West as well.
Yeah.
You look at these playoffs, you got the Sacramento Kings who, had an excellent season. You had the Lakers who, were like the eighth seed and made the playoffs. And you still have the Golden State Warriors who are there. You have Phoenix who just recently who did they get recently? The Phoenix
Bradley Beal.
Suns. Thank you, Bradley Beal. You have the Clippers, and so you have some teams in the West that are doing their thing. And you have the Denver Nuggets. So every team is pretty much getting better, and is has Portland did everything they possibly could to get better for Dame, and that's a question that remains to be seen. So wanted to get your opinion on Cavs draft pick Imani Bates. And can you tell me what do you think about that draft pick so far?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think there's some people mixed reviews, but the Cavs did have the 49th pick, so I don't really know too much of what people expected. But I think for the 49th pick, I think they did a great choice. He has height, which is, something that the Cavs have, we see in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen that they like. But I think the one thing that is different about him is, he's able to dribble, he's able to create his own shot. And right now, there's really only Darius and Donovan who can really create their shot on this team. So I think having another person, who can create their own shot and not have to rely on Darius or Donovan to do that for them, I think is a good move. And I think he's going to fit in really well with the team.
Yeah, and typically somebody with his pedigree, isn't around in that spot where he's at. But we talked about this yesterday. He was the number one recruit coming out in 2021. He went to Memphis, had a issue there, with a gun issue. It wasn't his gun or anything like that, but obviously, he went for a new environment, so he went home and he played for Eastern Michigan. So, was able to have a successful career there. And like you mentioned, the height issue is something that we need. And, we're desperate for a situation at small forward. And, hopefully there's a plug and play situation with him and he can provide you everything that you need because, he's a wing, which you desperately need. Also, too, they need to strengthen their bench, but, that's obviously something that they know they need to do this off season. But him being being a wing is something that is highly coveted. And his handles improved as he was a sophomore, and he has a deep range with the scores mentality. And he spent the last year trying to repair his image. He's a shifty shot creator and is worth a closer look if the background checks out. So that's from Chris Fedor at Cleveland.com. So Sports Illustrated said one of the best wings in the class from a creation standpoint. So like you mentioned, being able to do things off the dribble and create your own shot, which right now only Darius and Donovan, usually appear capable of that. So now you have that third option that can do that as well. So that's definitely a good thing. So we need a player like him. Hopefully, he obviously I don't think he'll be starting day one. I think, Isaac Coral will continue to start, but I think that Imani will continue to get minutes and stuff like that. And then you can have Isaac Okoro come off the bench. What do you think about that possible scenario?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not sure if he'll, start out starting the beginning of the season, but I definitely think, a month or two as the season goes in, I think he'll definitely move into that starting rotation.
Yeah, and you can have Isaac Okoro there to make the bench a little bit stronger, even though that, there's not really any offensive output. And let me put this disclaimer out there. Nobody here on the show hates Isaac Okoro because I know DJ Cristal says no calf slander, but, we have to be real about what we're getting at the small forward position, which is nothing, especially points wise. When you look at that stat sheet, we are not slandering the Cavs. So I want everybody to know that we do
Right.
like Isaac Okoro. You said no. He said he don't like Isaac Carl. We do like him. We like him as a defender, but we don't like, what he does offensively. So, that's okay. And he could, have another role on this team. And usually that's rare that Chris Styles is like, we don't like somebody. Usually, he's always rooting for the Cavaliers and stuff like that. So, Brady, we're going to go ahead and take another break and talk about Larry Nance's son also joining the team as well. So, this another son that he has. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So we'll be right back. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. right. Welcome back to Her and the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Brandy Fairfax. And we were just talking some Cleveland Cavaliers. But one of the things I wanted to notate is that Greg Newsom had his softball game this past weekend, and this was something that Jarvis Landry had did, this charity softball events where he invites, Cleveland stars and, athletes here in Cleveland to come play in this game. And they also have athletes from other teams around the various sports leagues participate in this game. It's a great moneymaker for charity. And they had Donovan Mitchell in the game this year. And Donovan Mitchell used to play baseball, and I heard he was crushing it in the home run derby, and like these were legitimate home runs. So, Donovan Mitchell has spoke all the time on he possibly could have been a baseball player, but he had an injury his sophomore year, a broken hand. So I don't know if that's the actual reason, he stopped playing baseball, but I guess it's been alluded to. And I heard that he was crushing some legit home runs and Classic Park or whatever, not just like baby home runs, but real ones. And he won the home run derby. So congrats to Donovan Mitchell, still being out there in Cleveland and stuff like that, and showing us some love by participating in that event. But Brandy, it looks like the Cavs are making some moves, going after undrafted not free agents, but undrafted players. And it looks like they signed Larry Nance's son, Pete Nance, and younger brother, Larry Nance Jr., to an Exhibit 10 contract. And he's a 6'10 forward who went undrafted Thursday night. And Nance will be with the Cavs at Summer League and training camp. He was at Revere High School, and he actually declined offers from the University of Michigan and Ohio State and
Right.
went to sign on with Northwestern. So, yeah, that is a little shocking right there, because Northwestern isn't known as a basketball school. So maybe he went because it's a school where, it's a highly rated school, and maybe he went for the education just in case basketball didn't pan out for him. But what do you think about this signing of another son of Larry Nance?
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of him play in college, but I'm not surprised. Keeping in the family, adding another Nance, the fans love him. A lot of people say good things about him, so I'm curious to see how he's going to play in summer league and throughout training camp. And I'm sure they'll probably end up maybe giving him a two-way contract where he'll be back and forth between the Charge and the Cavs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he actually he put his name in the NBA draft in 2022, and after the pre-draft process. He did work out for the Cavs at that time, but he gathering some more information and getting feedback from the NBA teams. He returned to college and actually finished his career at North Carolina. And we know North Carolina didn't really do anything last year, but he was able to join them due to the NCAA rule granting all student athletes an extra year eligibility because of pandemic shutting down sports at the end of the 2019-2020 season. So while he was at USC, he was an immediate starter and important to that rotation. He does have a nagging back injury that sidelined him for a few games, but he averaged 10 points and 6 rebounds while shooting 42% from the field. So they say he's lengthy, bouncy, athletic, and a versatile forward with a high basketball IQ. He can shift to center and small ball if needed as well. So that's a good thing. You can have an extra option at center, for Evan and also for Jared Allen. So that's good. But, him being a forward is another thing that's important too, because like I said, obviously you're going to have Imani Bates, but to have another forward, a wing that can shoot the ball as well is going to be something that's going to be important to this team as they try to, have a foothold on that Eastern Conference and retain where they're at, because other teams in the East are getting better too. And obviously you got the Miami Heat, who is surging, and I think think that they'll be a formidable opponent for a lot of teams next year. So, I don't know. They didn't have the best record. They were the eighth seed, but I think obviously, they are going to be playing with a lot of confidence next year because of what they did. So, I think that having a player like that on the Cavs is going to be very important as they look to improve and have a deeper run in the playoffs. So, under that two-way contract, a player is able to spend 50 games with this NBA team while also playing for that organization in the G League affiliate. So I can see him spending a lot of time in the G League as well, being brought up for a couple games to see what he can do at the actual professional level. So if the Cavs were to convert Nance's Exhibit 10 to two-way pact, he'd have a chance to split time between the Cavs and the G League Cleveland Charge. So there's been no decisions have been made about how the Cavs plan to divvy up their three two-way contracts, and obviously things could change in the off season. So that's a good thing. I think Imani Bates is also going to see some time down in the G League as well. Whoops. Sorry about that. Imani Bates is going to spend some time in the G League as well. So that's something where he can look to improve on his shots and, his ability to get open and all the things that he needs to work on. So I think that that's important. But what are your thoughts now about Nance after reading a little bit more information and knowing that he's going to be able to go down to the G League and improve a little bit?
Yeah, I think the G League will be good. Same with Isaiah Mobley. I'm sure, they're only allowed three of the two-way contracts. So I'm sure, them two will get two of them. And then I know they got a guard the other day. So maybe he'll get the third. But I think, the Charge, they've been playing pretty well, with Sharif Cooper and all that. They had a pretty good season last year. So I think going down there for them to get some time to develop will be good. And then bring them up for the games with the Cavs.
Yeah. So, hopefully this situation could work out. Larry Nance was only with the Cavs for 3 years, but hopefully this is something where he looks like to be a project and he has a lot to learn. But this is another low risk, possibly high reward pick as well. He's not gonna score you 1,000 points or anything like that, but he could be a solid player. Coming off your bench or so. And it looks like Mike says Imani Bates is an absolute dog. He was ranked number one high school player of his class and over Chet just a few years ago. So I'm looking forward to him as well, too, Mike. I think that, he could be an excellent player for the Cavs at a spot that we desperately need, which is small forward. And, you can see him out there in that lineup, with Jarrett, with Evan, also with and Donovan and Darius. And you can easily see Isaac Okoro coming off the bench along with Karis Levert as well. So you could potentially have a stronger bench than you had last year. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with Jetty, because he was a main person coming off the bench. And, obviously they're going to have to develop Dean Wade because you gave up Kevin Love for Dean Wade. So they're going to have to do something with that bench as well. So that's another thing
I will
that
say I am
they.
happy though that they did pick up the option on Lamar Stevens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
So they'll have him next year as well, which was good. I'm still mad he didn't play minutes in playoffs last year, but I'm glad to see him back for another season.
Do you remember the standing ovation he got when they put him in Game 5 in the game? Like the
Yes,
standing ovation for Lamar Stevens
everybody
because,
was ready.
huh?
We were waiting. We were waiting since game one for him to get in.
Yeah, and you were thinking that he might be able to have a performance like he had against the Boston Celtics. So it's just like, JB, what were you thinking? You got your guys that you're tiring out as well. They're getting out rebounded, out jumped, outscored, and they're playing the whole time. So they're tired too. Why not put, one of those, players in there who is a gritty player? He's not going to win you a world championship champion or anything like that, world championship. But he's one of those gritty players that tries very hard, and put him in and see what you possibly can be able to get. He could be a benefit. So it was a little too late on that, and not saying that's what cost us the series or anything like that, but obviously he could have did a little bit better with his rotation, with his bench play, and unfortunately the Cavs just got out coached and they got out hustled. But having players like that in there who's proven to be a spark plug sometimes could be the difference in the series, and they just didn't
Yeah,
have that.
a lot of times, we even see him out rebounding people that are bigger than him, and I think that's what we
Mm-hmm.
needed, against the series, especially because the Cavs were just letting Mitchell Robinson have whatever in the paint.
Yeah, and he could have matched up against Jalen Brunson as well too. So I'm surprised Mike did not send his love to you, Mike. Normally he sends his love to you, Brandy. He asked about you yesterday. I'm like, that's on Tuesdays. Brandy's here, but this is our time. So so I want to thank you so much for joining the show today. I want to thank everybody for listening to Her in the Huddle. And coming up soon we're going to have some more Browns talk as well, but right now it's going to be Guardians a lot because that's the season that we're in. So thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU.